gearbox has gone.
Last time you saw me, I just completed my longest solo sail to Great Barrier Island. But on the way home, my boat broke down and I had to get towed by Coast Guard twice. I bought my first boat with zero experience and this is my journey, warts and all. Carrying down to the boat yesterday, put it in neutral forwards and backwards, and the linkage on the gears looked absolutely fine. So it's not I thought it was a gearbox. It looks like it is the prop shaft coupling and it's not grabbing my prop shaft, so that's why I've got no gears. But the problem is engine mounts are shot. So if I take it out, I'm going to have to do the prop shaft coupling, the seal, the engine mounts, and then I'm still with a big old engine that's probably going to fail me, and it's really noisy. Shaft seal leaked anyway, so we put an electric bilge pump in here, so it's working really hard, but because it's working so hard I don't want it to burn out. There's heaps of water coming through now because the prop shaft isn't aligned properly, so all around it water's pouring in. So I bought some aqua sealant to try and seal that hole. Let's see. There's constant water coming through there. There's the prop shaft. This is the coupling. If I turn this, oh, it's grabbing now, of course. Alright, so that's what I mean. So I think the bolt is caught then. No, and now it's not. You see? So no gear, gear, no gear. Yeah, nothing there. So that's an example. But if you look here, there's a bolt that goes through. So you can also see some of the bits. I can't think of the bits that would screw in have come out, so it's obviously moved backwards. So we think that the screw has fallen out of there. I'm going to try and put some of the sealant stuff around here for the time being to stop the water from continuing to come in and make a plan. Repairs: fiberglass, metal, ceramic, wood, concrete, glass and most plastics. Underwater, damp, wet repairs. Cut off required amount, replace disc on remaining portion. To mix needle fingers until a uniform colour is achieved. Stinks. Whew. This is $30. Well worth it if my boat doesn't sink. 20 to 30 minutes, it will harden and form a strong bond. We'll see. If you don't like hard work, don't buy an old sailboat. Oh, get a torch on. We're going to have to cut a big opening in this rear quarter berth because that's all that you've got to access. Let's have a go. Doing pretty well. Still leaking somewhat, so I'm going to take this berth out and try and get access this side as well. Doesn't seem to be bonding. There's still water coming through. I've used the whole packet. Did everything it said to do. It's still like I've taken my gloves off because I was wondering if that was not allowing me to get a good seal, but I've been pushing it around with my fingers and there's still not as much water admittedly, but still too much water coming through. So I just don't understand why it's not adhering to the surface. Is exactly what it's for. So I say goodbye to Naruto for a planned trip sailing from Brisbane. Perfect timing? Doubt it. I've just fixed the leak and emptied her out completely in case there's the worst case scenario. I feel incredibly guilty leaving Naruto behind, unsure if she's worth saving. I fly to Australia to meet Ian and we set off on over a 600 nautical mile sail to the Whitsundays, my longest sail yet, with no set time frame after several major life changes recently. Our first leg takes us from Raby Bay in Brisbane across to Moreton Island, sailing Ian and Jane's Bavaria 33C. The sun is shining and everything feels a lot lighter. 15 minutes to get here. Got quite a swell coming in. But it's not the worst anchorage will be now. Cowan is a small, quiet beach settlement on the western side of Moreton Island, known for its relaxed camping spots and World War II relics hidden in the sand dunes. It sits on an exposed stretch of the coastline, so it's heavily protected by sandbags as storms and tides slowly eat away at the shore. It's still mostly rustic, but over time a mix of simple beach shacks and a few upgraded holiday homes have been added along the waterfront. We go for a walk along the beach, settle in for the night, and notice a swell building. At the time I wasn't too impressed. Turns out I hadn't seen anything yet. We started in Cowan here, and we were anticipating going up this shipping channel. We're going up to Mooloolaba, and actually what's happened is we've come out of Cowan and we've started going up this northeast passage, which will take us out into the open ocean. So we think it will take us about 5 hours to get there. We had both the sails out and we think we've got enough wind to sail the spinnaker. Off to Mooloolaba in the open water.
The open ocean.
Sailed with the spinnaker for a little while, which was heaps of fun. We've got a swell of kind of 1.5 metres, which I spoke about earlier, which also made sleeping quite uncomfortable. Down but kept out just in case we need to use it again. It was doing well, it was filling, but we've had a look and it looks like it will take us until 7 PM to get into Mooloolaba. Left at 7:20, so a bit too slow really. So we popped the motors on and we are heading into Mooloolaba. Tie an anchor in a place called the Duck Pond. Ian said if it's too busy, we're not going to do that. But there is apparently a marina, marina there as well. It seemed really reasonable here. They're about $50, $60 a night. The three of us, it's only $20, 20 Australian dollars each. So something that I've really noticed since I've been sailing in Moreton Bay in January. So this is my second time here. We're coming out of Moreton Bay now obviously. It's very different to the Hauraki Gulf in what I've seen so far, that the winds seem to be quite consistent, I think southeasterlies, whereas sailing in the Hauraki Gulf you can get kind of 3 different wind directions in a day and speeds. So it seems quite predictable here. Also quite different because there is just so many shallow patches. When you look at the navionics or the navigation gear, it's like a sand pit. So the obvious routes that you might take are not routes that you can take. So you really have to go kind of way out of your way to get somewhere to make sure you're in deep water. So it's really interesting, very different. It's quite scary sailing in completely unfamiliar waters. You know, I've only sailed in the Hauraki Gulf and I'd say I know it relatively well. I'm not no expert. So yeah, very, very different, quite favourable in some ways, but a lot more to concentrate on, lots more navigation markers, channel markers, cardinal markers everywhere. 2 different channels, one going to Brisbane, one going to Gold Coast, so you've got, for me, quite confusing amounts of markers everywhere that would take a while to get used to, but great practice, definitely. We arrived safely at Mooloolaba and set a plan for my first bar crossing. As we head in, it doesn't take long to notice Ian's strong background in helicopter comms.
Bit of power now.
Yeah.
Depth 2.5, depth 2.4. Clear to the left.
Yeah.
Depth 2.8, speed's good, line's good. Clear to the left with no breakers showing. 2.6, still looking good.
The Mooloolaba bar crossing is a shifting sandbar entrance where tides and swell can quickly turn a calm channel into breaking, unpredictable water, so requires planning and good timing. Oh, that wouldn't have helped then. Mooloolaba is a relaxed sunshine coast town with a busy little marina, a surf beach, strip of cafes and seafood spots right along the water. We have just anchored for a 3rd time. I think it's got some kind of silt, not mud. Mud normally, well, in my experience, grabs really well. So we had 20 metres out, we just put another 10, and the snubber. Nope. Fourth time. We're gonna have to try and find somewhere else. Here I am at Mooloolaba. We left Cowan on Tangalooma Island yesterday and sailed about 25 nautical miles. It was with variable 8 to 15 knots northeasterly with swells around 1 to 1.5. So quite significant. We had some big sideways rolls, which are actually quite a lot of fun. We thought we were going to have to motor the whole way. We probably motored maybe 2 hours and then managed to sail the rest. We came into the Mooloolaba bar, which I've never done before, and it was a bit more hairy than I had anticipated. We watched probably a 40-foot boat come out at the wrong time with waves going across the bar, and I think it must have swept them around because they did a 180 and it looked like they got beached. They managed to get themselves off, so that was good, but that was just before we were going to come in, so Ian did very well to get us in. We were considering staying in the marina. She had anchored in the duck pond in Mooloolaba. I think it's called the duck pond, that's what Ian calls it. We'll be staying here tonight as well. The plan for tomorrow is for us to sail about 9 hours up to Whitsundays bar. We won't go in until the following day, but quite light winds tomorrow, which is why we're staying here for 2 days. And yeah, so we go up to Rainbow Beach. The plan's to anchor around there and then go into Whitsundays bar the following day. Ian has a rule of 15 knots or 1.5 metre swells, and to go in an hour and a half before high tide. So yesterday we actually came in later than we thought. It was coming on to low tide, which might be why it seemed quite sketchy coming in. But tomorrow we will definitely ensure that we get there at the right time, because Whitsundays bar is apparently renowned for being treacherous. Came out at low tide, which was fine. It was really calm, and we've been sailing for about 5 hours now. We were thinking of going up to I think it's called Rainbow Bay, just before the Y bar, but it's a really strange sea state. It's kind of choppy and rolly, not particularly nice, and we're motoring at the moment, which obviously we hope to sail. We're going to have a look at Tea Tree Bay, which is next to Noosa, and just see what the sea state is there. We might end up just staying for a few hours and then heading out again and sailing this evening, because we're in no rush to get through the bar. We want to wait for good conditions. You have to time it 1 to 1.5 hours before high tide. We don't want to go any bigger than 1.5 swell or 15 knots as well, so they're kind of our limits that we've given ourselves. So we're in no rush to go up, so if it's a bit more pleasant here, we might just stay here. But the wind is shifting today. It's coming from southwesterly, then a southerly, then it moves to an easterly, and then it's going into a northerly, so we're not quite sure what our plan is. Really quite significant swell, as you might be able to see here. I think about 1.5 metres, 1 to 1.5 metres. Been going for about 20 nautical miles now. A chop and a swell, so it's not overly pleasant, but we will, we're going to go into Tea Tree Bay, which is just after Noosa, and we will reevaluate things. It might be that we sail overnight up to Rainbow Bay, but we will see. We didn't end up able to stay in that bay. Well, we stayed there for probably half an hour, maybe an hour, and then we're told off by Coast Guard because apparently you have to anchor 800 metres off of shore there. There were nothing on Navionics, and there were no markers or anything, so that was a bit strange. Ian and I tried to, we're going to have a walk around Noosa town, but the waves were breaking and they were way too big, so we took the tender, went for a little tiki tour, but didn't manage to actually get off of the tender. So we're, as planned, heading up to Rainbow Beach now, where we will hang out around there to go through the Bar Bay. We have both sails up now, which is awesome because we were motoring for a few hours, and we're averaging about 4.9 knots. So today I think our journey, if we don't include that stop, will be about 10 or 11 hours. As you can see, it's absolutely beautiful. This is my 4th day sailing in Australia, and it's been sun every bloody day. Also finding that I'm not having as much actual sailing to film because it's almost a set and forget here. So in the Hauraki Gulf I'll be sail trimming and going in all different kinds of directions where the wind's changing, different conditions, but we are just for miles and miles and miles same direction with a consistent, or mostly a consistent wind direction, so it's quite unusual. We sail into the night and arrive right as sun was setting. I drop the main and we anchor safely for the night at Rainbow Beach. Rainbow Beach is often used by sailors as a waiting spot to anchor up and sit tight until the conditions are right to cross the bar. It offers a bit of shelter and a good place to watch the weather and tides before making the run. It turned out it was a pretty awful place to anchor, with a big swell, and I felt seasick within minutes. At first light, we're all keen to get out of that anchorage. Ian calls Tin Can Bay Coast Guard for an update on the crossing and to log our trip with them, and AIS shows boats everywhere waiting with the same idea.
I've got three points that I've got from the Coast Guard. There are virtual AIS lateral markers all the way through, so we'll be following between those. And also there's a lead light on the way in, on the starboard side. So it's solid white, of course, flashes red if you're to port of it, solid red if you're before, green flashing, solid green. Mandatory life jackets across the bar. The wind is absolutely nothing, it's fine. The swell is right on the edge of what I normally want. It's 1.5 metres of swell, 1.6. But because the wind's well below, I can do with that. And we'll also log ourselves on, put ourselves onto the Coast Guard log before we start the crossing, get ourselves taken up.
We cross the bar without any issues and anchor up in Inskip Point, which is immediately visible once you're through. Inskip Point is a narrow sandy peninsula just inside the Wide Bay Bar and is used as a key staging point for boats heading in and out of the Great Sandy Strait and to and from Fraser Island. Inskip Point is also the main departure point for vehicles catching the ferry barge across to Fraser Island, with cars lining up on the beach ramp to board short shuttle barges that run back and forth across the channel. Next episode, I go up the mast for the first time. We sail up the Sandy Strait, experience some extreme toilet issues, and visit some beautiful islands and much, much more.